if you are in a state of hopelessness and despair, you need to get yourself back into a state of frustration if you really want to start doing something about a problem you're facing. People dig themselves into this hole where it's like, to actually entertain the idea of harmony, the idea of reaching your goal, the idea of getting something better, that actually becomes a bad thing that they fight against, because that would invalidate everything they've done. Hopelessness and despair is a shield. It's a shield against continuing your personal mission in life, continuing the adventure, your story, because you've just taken goodness off the table. You've taken this idea that, oh wow, there actually is something better out for me out there off the table, and because of that, you don't need to try anymore. I think we got through all of our clips today, and so there's one more thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and to wrap the show up with, which is like I've been doing a lot of working on the back end, trying to really nail down my messaging on different stuff, the marketing style side of the business and whatnot. And we're going through like what kind of our customers, like where they're at, like, what they're feeling, all of that kind of thing. And it kind of hit me that some, like the people that I try to reach, they're anywhere on a spectrum of emotions with like where they're at in life. And some of them are very frustrated. They keep trying to get their life together. They keep trying to become disciplined. They keep trying to quit porn. They keep trying to, find their productive groove, find their path in life, whatever it is, and they're frustrated about it. Okay. But then some people, they go past frustration. They've been frustrated for so long that they actually become hopeless. They actually start getting filled with despair. And what I kind of realized is that it's much easier to sell someone something when they're frustrated, because frustrated means that they are still actively trying to solve the problem. But once you move into hopelessness or despair, you've given up. And at that point, it's like you're not just trying to sell them a solution, you're trying to sell them on the fact a solution even exists for them. And so reverse engineering that kind of marketing insight is that if you are in a state of hopelessness and despair, you need to get yourself back into a state of frustration if you really want to start doing something about a problem you're facing. Because like, I think a lot of guys, what they do is they'll try something. Maybe it's like, they tried dating, a lot of times, or maybe they tried working out a number of times and they just like couldn't stick with it. They couldn't do it or whatever. And then they just fall into despair. They fall into hopelessness. And they almost need to hold on to that hopelessness. They almost need to construct this worldview where there's no way they could find a girl, or there's no way they could get in shape, or there's no way they could get a better job. Because if there's the possibility that they could do this, well, all of a sudden, that makes their current life seem like a waste. It makes it seem like they are actually wasting their life. And so people actually, what I found is it almost has become an idol in some ways. And I see this playing out as I'm thinking about it, even like on the political spectrum. It's like the left has written off the right, and the right has written off the left. It's like it's a foregone conclusion that any conversion from one side to the other is hopeless. And once it's hopeless, well, then you don't even need to try. Right? Then you can just meme the other side, make fun of them, denigrate them, turn them into the evil other, and just use them as fodder to preach to your choir about. But the reality is, like, that's horrifying. That means that, like, there will never be middle ground again. Like, there will never be, like, people won't be able to cross the aisle and agree upon things, because the tribal hatred will go so deep. And it's like, people dig themselves into this hole where it's like, to actually entertain the idea of harmony, the idea of reaching your goal, the idea of getting something better, that actually becomes a bad thing that they fight against, because that would invalidate everything they've done. Like if you built your career hating people across the aisle, well, for you to admit that, oh, actually, maybe I could reach some of them. Maybe we actually could find common ground on some things. Well, that would invalidate everything you've done. That would make what you've done so far stupid looking. In the same way for the person who says, there's no way that, I can be the kind of person who really chases their dreams because I just haven't done it. It's like, well, for you to acknowledge that later in life, it's like, well, shoot, how many years did I waste just screwing around? And so it's like, you got to keep an eye out for this, because I think that hopelessness and despair is a shield. It's a shield against continuing your personal mission in life, continuing the adventure, your story, because you've just taken goodness off the table. You've taken this idea that, oh wow, there actually is something better out for me out there off the table, and because of that, you don't need to try anymore. And so it's just one of those things where it's like you got to have a sober look at yourself if this is happening anywhere in your life. It can happen. Say there's a guy he's married, okay, and he's had a rough time with his wife, and maybe they've got a dead bedroom, they call it. It's like you haven't had sex for years. It's like you could just write it off. Some ways that's just easier. Just sit there and jerk off to your porn and phone it in for until one of you dies. Or you can embrace the possibility that, wow, maybe actually we could fix things. And that's so much harder then. That's so much more on your plate. But that's the only path to finding the next level. And so being willing to delve into that sort of thing is where you can find a lot of opportunity, I think. So if you can scan your life, like scan your mind, where are you hopeless? Where are you full of despair? And if you're willing to challenge that, what could that unlock for you? What kind of new adventure, what kind of new challenge, what kind of opportunity could be found behind that? So, something to think about.